Hello, and welcome into Full Screen Podcast. I'm your host, Kira Aster. Joining me today, as always, clutching her millennial heart over the resurgence of Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone content. It's Raven Ebert. Happy holidays, Raven. How are you?
I'm good, but I'm the millennial that Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I also find it very interesting that historically every Spider-Man has dated his co-star who played the love interest in the movie in real life. Tobey Maguire dated Kirsten Dunst, Andrew Garfield dated Emma Stone, and Zendaya's
Rich tradition.
Yeah, Zendaya is dating the mascot of Lucky Charms, Tom Holland.
Hey, we love one of those Toms and THs from across the pond. I will say, I agree with you. I'm with you on that. Toby is also, well, honestly, now it's Tom Holland who's my Spider-Man, but it used to be Toby. Andrew didn't even matter. But then I think the resurgence in this movement to embrace him and how he is actually just as a person, and his comeback in No Way Home, and his tears and all of that, like, it did something to me. So I'm here for it. I'm here for Emma and Andrew, and I'm sorry to Emma's husband. I'm sure you're a good dude, but it's Andrew and Emma.
I think that it's very heartening to see the support of Andrew Garfield, because for me, I think it marks that distinction of fandom outrage, where people used to take a lot out on the actors if they didn't like something. And we have collectively matured as fans, but also as consumers of movies, to understand that there are creative decisions that are made outside of the actors' willingness to do all of this. So, for example, as a Star Wars fan,
God, yes,
poor Jake Lloyd was tormented to within an inch of his sanity. But I think that the fandom, as well as Disney, have done a lot more to protect the child actors that portrayed young Luke and Leia in the Obi-Wan show, which I'm happy that they did, because no child deserves to be bullied by 40-year-old men who can't get over, I don't know what
the good old days or what it used to be. It's kind of stupid.
It doesn't matter. It's just irrelevant bullshit. So yeah, I'm happy for that evolution in our consumption habits.
Embrace of Hayden Christensen as well. Like the complete embrace of Hayden after attacking him during the prequels. Like blaming something for someone.
He should be attacked for Little Italy instead of prequels.
Hey, that's a masterpiece. Your recommendation that I saw recently.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed it, because you needed a little Italian flavor straight from the most Italian place in the world. I'm talking about Toronto, Ontario. And the 3 square blocks of Little Italy. But it's I was very upset to not see Hayden recognized for his work on Little Italy. So I'm hoping that he's going to be getting more recognition for his work in the endless stream of Star Wars content that's going to be put out by Disney+.
So excited. I'm here for it. Speaking of recognitions, Golden Globe nominations. I mean, who cares really about Golden Globes except...
All right. How about you come back to me in the 10, 15 years when I care again, because I can't.
No one will know about Golden Globes then. But I am excited to see celebrities get drunk, at an award show again. Yeah, so that's a format that I'm excited to see.
I miss celebrities like Tracy Morgan being the one to go and collect awards. Like, every time he collected awards for 30 Rock, that was a performance in itself, and I really miss that. The best I can hope for is, of course, a Jeremy Strong showing for Succession. in
Can you imagine
character.
him drunk? Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't have to imagine him drunk. I don't think he drinks. He's just intense like that all the time. And Brian Cox is just going to show up out of character and say, "Good God, Jeremy, knock it off." So,
oh my God, I can't wait. I'm excited to see it.
that.
So that I did note. I mean, I again don't care about these nominations, but I did notice that America Ferrera was missing. No nomination for her, even though she stole, I feel like, that speech that she gives in Barbie, like, just sums up, according to Big Jim Cameron, sums up the experience of a woman,
I'm sure it was to do with the fact that there were so many other good performances, and not that America Ferrera's agent did not arrange a trip to some fancy museum for the HFPA. I'm sure.
Honestly, yes. And then Boots Riley also was snubbed. I'm a Virgo, ending up in all of the lists of like top 10s of the year, but was also snubbed. And then
I can tell you, as a Bay Area native now, Boots Riley doesn't give a shit about the Golden Globe.
He doesn't, but people need to. Awards are important for many reasons, but one, people look at these lists, people who may not know about, right? Who may not know about the content, and they're like, huh, what is this? Let me check this out. So that's a shame. Yeah. But you know what was nominated? 1923, like the 7th spin-off of Yellowstone, the Paramount show in the Sheridan verse. And it was honestly nominated because Golden Globes this time.
Yeah, because
will be on Paramount.
Who vote for the Golden Globes also watch 1923, because that is the year that they were born. So it all makes perfect sense. It's all a perfect circle. Time is a flat circle. Matthew McConaughey. All right.
Perfect. I do want to recap the road to the Oscars. So Golden Globes will begin the road to the Oscars, so January 7th. Then on January 14th, we have the Critics' Choice. On the 15th, we have Emmys 2023. So normally in September, but labor rights. Then on Feb 24th, we will have the SAG Awards. Looking forward to that. And then on March 13th, finally, we'll have the Oscars. So 4-month long season of campaigning. Very excited to see everyone just bring their A game on the red carpet.
It's the start of Moira Rose's favorite season. Awards.
All right, before we get into today's topic, let's recap how people can tell us what their unconventional addition to the holiday movie list is.
Oh yeah, I consider A Nightmare Before Christmas as both a Halloween and Christmas movie, because I am a slut for A Nightmare Before Christmas. But I've heard the arguments for Die Hard, etc., etc. So if you have any other unconventional ones, please feel free to share them with us on our social media, on Twitter and Instagram at FullScreenPod.
Mine is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I'm doubling down on it.
Robert Downey. Yeah. Okay. I guess Shane Black also made Iron Man 3 a Christmas movie, so maybe that too. If you'd like to include a detailed essay on why Kira and I are like completely wrong in our love for Kiss Kiss Bang Bang as a holiday movie, send it to us at fullyscreen@gmail.com, and we will immediately archive it. But yeah, feel free to reach out to us with podcast ideas, with anything you'd like to see us cover over the next episodes, and feel free to subscribe to us on Spotify and on YouTube, where you can like and share our videos and engage with that algorithm, baby. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, today's topic. It's the season. It's the season of Hallmark movies. And maybe Great American Family Channel movies as well. So today we're talking all things Hallmark, all things Great American Family Channel, which is a new competitor. I will say, fun fact, I had not heard of it as of 3 weeks ago. I've only just learned of this new channel.
And you feel blessed with this new information. It has come
blessed
upon you like an angel.
I was incomplete before. I'm a whole person now. I will say I've been very excited to talk about Hallmark, and I feel there's a lot to get into, but as I will say, I think upfront, as steady cable channels sort of like navigate away from linear television into like streaming apps first. We've seen that with AMC, FX, even CBS, Paramount. Hallmark has really held steady with linear TV as its main focus. So I kind of want to dissect that with you, and in the spirit of holiday season, we're just going to talk about history, Hallmark strategy, and compare it with the competitor. Competitor as of like 2021, right? Great American Family Channel, very new.
Yeah, it was uncontested for a very long time, and as we'll get into it soon, the competitor also contains a lot of familiar elements, both behind and in front of the camera. So we'll deep dive into the exact science of what it takes to make what on the surface appears to be a very simple holiday schmaltz, but underneath is one of the most consistently, I would say, dependable products in the American entertainment industry. It's fascinating to look at.
Yeah, so whether it's time for me to come home for Christmas, or for you, or him, or them, let's get the show on the road.
Jingle bells! Let's put on your favorite Christmas sweater, grab your cup of cocoa with marshmallows, and pretend that the whole concept of Christmas trees and Yule logs and everything else was not a co-opting of the pagan celebration of the winter solstice. We are going to be examining the high holy holiday of the multiplying genre through the Hallmark Channel. And the genre of quote-unquote holiday movies, but we all know that holiday is Christmas, that sprang forth from its virgin womb like the Lord and Savior of the lack of original winter programming on cable television. So we are here. I wouldn't say we're wise and there's two of us and we're not men, but we are following the North Star metric of Hallmark
Nicely
Channel.
done.
And that is dinero, baby, mucho. So let's actually start unpacking, unwrapping, as it will, the gift of the Hallmark Channel. So a cable television network that is owned by the greeting card company Hallmark as part of the subsidiary Hallmark Media. It was formerly called Crown Media Holdings because that was the little Hallmark logo of the crown. So that's probably where it came from. And then they decided, guys, we're a little too subtle. Let's just get full blown with the Hallmark brand. Like there's no room for subtlety here.
I just want to pause and I want to like hone in on the fact that this is Hallmark Channel and Hallmark greeting cards are like the same company. I feel like people don't realize that, but this is like incredible. Like they leaned it, they were like, you know what? We can capitalize on sentiments.
I mean, yeah, because sentiments are at the core of storytelling, and they're also at the core of, I would say, somewhere between the bread and the grocery aisle and Kroger. So you can go pick both of those up there. The Hallmark Channel also has two sister channels maintained by Hallmark Media as well. There's Hallmark Drama and Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. I would classify all of this as momcore. That is the genre of the content over here. The Hallmark Channel started in 1992. It has a lot of religious roots, But much like the concept of Christmas, it moved over to secular consumerism in about 2001. And
Much
it was
like the
officially...
time that Taylor Swift used to sing with a country accent, and now she's a pop diva.
She's dropped that twang. She dropped that twang just like the reason for
Real
the
fast.
season. And it rebranded in 2001, and I would say that it was in the 2010s, and maybe that is because of my personal recollection of the Hallmark Channel, but the 2010s is when I feel like the Hallmark Channel actually established a very recognizable brand identity with the Hallmark Channel original movies. These are rom-coms that are actually set across various different holidays. I compared it to the scene where Jack Skellington discovers all the holiday trees in The Nightmare Before Christmas and falls through the Christmas one. That is literally, I suppose, how people in Hallmark develop their content, where most of it falls within the Christmas door and the Christmas tree. But instead of whimsy and magic, it's like elements of different rom-coms within there that's built around the holiday. I don't think they actually do full-blown Halloween. It's just autumnal harvest, because I think Halloween's a little too spooky for the Hallmark Channel.
But it kicks off the season, like it's their time, you know?
It is their time. And just like you said, that you found it kind of impossible to believe that there's a media company or a television channel that's being made by the same people that make greeting card stuff. Well, they don't just make greeting card stuff. They make all sorts of what I would say unnecessary paraphernalia that is loosely considered to be decorations or decoration or party supplies during these holidays. And I feel that Jack Donaghy level of corporate synergy baked into each and every one of these Hallmark products, because everything that you see in front of you in a Hallmark original can be purchased by the viewer via Hallmark. If you are watching, for example, a St. Patrick's Day rom-com, you can't get yourself a hot, tawdry Irish-American boyfriend with a drinking problem, which I'm sure you can, but not through Hallmark. But you can get all of the cheap plastic cups and paper plates and little leprechauns and green 4-leaf clovers that you can put around the house and make a mess trying to clean up the next day, all through Hallmark. So it's very synergistic.
Disney is still trying to figure out how to like sell TVA handbooks to, you know, like the little guidebooks through the e-commerce shop on Disney Plus, and look at Hallmark. Amazing.
I mean, they're going directly to the people that have the credit card in their name, which is, I would say, Disney adults. I'm sure there's a very large overlap over here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, it's
something to be said about like how streaming is still figuring out like the e-commerce connection, and Hallmark's been there. Very, very interesting.
I mean, Hallmark's been in commerce for a very, very long time. They're not as concerned about, you know, making that long-lasting product of movies and television. But they have a cultural juggernaut at the Hallmark Channel of the Countdown to Christmas that started in 2009. And I would say it is even more of an ominous, insidious presence than Mariah Carey literally unfreezing herself after the 31st of October to scream, "It's time," at pitches only like dogs can hear at. Because this is literally a countdown to Christmas. It's a continuous stream of original content that is produced by Hallmark that is out there. Content-wise, I would say Hallmark does have other things. They have reruns of certain syndicated sitcoms, but the main attraction, the bread and butter, is the original programming, the Hallmark Channel movies and originals that they put out there. I would say from a consumer perspective, the movies consistently are producing very, very good numbers according to Nielsen, more so than their admittedly limited number of series. But all of the content still follows a through line of very, very, I termed it as aggressively saccharine, like passive aggressive sweetness, where they will make eye contact with you and force you to be merry. But it also is extremely,
people love it.
It's extremely secular. So it's not very focused on the religious aspect of Christmas. In fact, there's very little that has to do with going to mass or going to church or even acknowledging the religion of Christianity or sects of Christianity. So they're just like, you can still live your Hallmark fantasy even if you're not, consuming the body of Christ through transubstantiatism or whatever they call it. What is it? It's like eating his the body of Christ through the cracker in the church. Don't worry about that stuff. You need to come to the winter holiday Yule Spirit Bright Merry Festival in the town square, right? Like as far removed from it as possible.
You're quoting an actual clip, right? You have to insert that in the video.
I may be, because it really is just as far removed. It's like the tree trimming. What kind of tree? Don't worry about it. It is a Christmas tree, but it's just like, very, very far removed from those things that may feel
it's just the season to be merry for some reason, that's distant in the back.
Yeah, I actually see it as a way for people to participate without feeling like they're doing some kind of cultural appropriation, where they're not like exoticizing something. So I don't feel like I'm watching zoo animals when I see someone acting a complete fucking fool on some Hallmark original channel.
Y'all, this is high praise from Raven here, so.
Yeah, sure. But let me actually tell you about the things that I do want to praise as a product manager, because this thing is being churned out. Under 2 weeks of active shooting and about 3 months of total production, including pre and post production, kept under the budget of like $2 million consistently, according to several sources like Forbes and Cheat Sheet. They're all kept in so tight and shot in Canada. So I imagine that those tax breaks that they have in Canada also helps a ton. But it is so wild to me that this is so odd. Like it's so automated. It almost feels like they probably have been doing AI related stuff for a lot longer than we suspect in the industry, because they're churning this out consistently with at least 20 to 30 new pieces of content every year around this time of year. And
people engage with it. They have not failed in this formula, and we'll talk about that at length later on, but this is an important point to note.
Yeah, they do engage with it, and the whole point of that is, again, to reach out to advertisers, because this content is kept advertiser friendly. It's, first of all, they're building in advertising for Hallmark products as well. But because you're tying it into Christmas with the act of gift giving, there's so much potential for commercials. And they just throw that in, not only as commercial breaks within the content, but like it's like product placement within the scenes itself. So, the mom of the protagonist is wearing, a K jeweler's necklace or something from Pandora as a bracelet. So it's all built in. It's extremely shrewd from a product perspective. The product, of course, is not being high art. Let's be clear here.
Yeah.
But I gotta respect the game. I gotta respect the hustle. And we're going to go into actually seeing what the output of all of that hustle has been.
Let's talk about the Hallmark Channel and its success and streaming aspect. So let me start by saying that as of December 2023, when we're recording this, Hallmark, right ahead of HGTV and Food Network and TNT, is the number one watched linear channel in the country right now. It's their time. They're thriving. The Hallmark Channel has an average of 1 million or almost 2 million, 1.5 something million viewers between 8 and 11 p.m. On the weekends in early December. Second in ratings only to ESPN's 2.98 million viewership. This is from Nielsen. So, I mean, great. You can't defeat sports, but you know what's close to sports? Sentiments and Christmas.
I mean, getting a boyfriend for Christmas is a sport, if you think about it. So it is just sports all throughout. I love that the lonely hours of each heteronormative gender is ESPN and the Hallmark Channel. We're breaking really good ground here. Yeah,
8 to 11 p.m. God, I love Nielsen. Now, this is different from the heyday of wired, quote-unquote, programming, right? Like before cord cutting became the norms, when 90% of homes in the country had cable packages. In 2013, the average viewership of Hallmark Channel was well over 3 million. So those are numbers we are likely never going to see again on linear television, on cable television. And that was on par with basic cable channels such as TBS, TNT, even AMC. So remember that time when we used to watch TBS? Weird.
I do not remember.
I do. I remember was it Monk and Psych were USA shows, right? Or TNT shows?
Yeah, they were on USA. And I do remember
on rotation.
Having to see that in college, which is, I suspect, that would be a very interesting subcategory of research to go back and see how many of these Hallmark Channel viewers are just people in college dorms watching or having it on for background noise, because it's...
Know your audience, right? I just saw the Monk movie just came out, it released this year. There's a very Monk Christmas or something. Wouldn't be opposed to seeing that. So I will say, today cabled homes are hovering under 70%, as opposed to 90%, over 90% in 2013, because streaming and cord cutting lifestyle is the one that reigns supreme. Yet Hallmark maintains its hold, and the drop off is not too huge. As we saw, we've seen the viewership slashed in half ish, but has held pretty steady in the last few years in comparison to others. Why? So Joe Adalian, whom we admire greatly, in his newsletter Buffering for Vulture, did a deep dive into this exact topic. And it's called Nobody Told Hallmark That Cable is Dead. Incredible title. And it's because audiences are showing up loyally. Week after week, month after month, season after season, the audience just counts on Hallmark for the steady, robust, the sort of formulaic content that you were referring to, Raven, earlier. It's just the audiences have not dropped off, and that's really interesting because for others, it has. Others like AMC and FX shifted to streaming pretty fast. CBS is now streaming first with Paramount.
The maturity rating of all of this content, it's pretty easy to call it family friendly, even though the context is, romantic comedies. It's never broaching sexuality in a way that you can't watch this with other members of your family. And I imagine a lot of people end up going to their parents' homes or grandparents' homes or elder relatives' homes for Christmas, and this is the type of stuff that you just have on in the background so that you don't have to lapse into uncomfortable silences to answer questions about why your womb is barren and empty and you don't have a ring on your finger. So you just play this type of shit on repeat so that it distracts your If you're tired of answering these questions from like an inquisitive aunt or an inquisitive grandmother or a nosy neighbor or whatever, don't worry. They can redirect all of this concern towards the protagonist, who does end up with a ring on their finger, with a blessed baby in their womb. I suppose not immediately, but because that's not scientifically possible. But yeah, they can end up with somebody, so you can too. And they were hopeless. Like, did you see the first 5 minutes of the movie? They were hopeless in love, in life. They were a mess. And
I have so much to say about this because the formula is just like nailed down perfectly. I will say anecdotally, I did talk to a few people, and it's so funny. A few people who are really into Hallmark, a few people I respect, and yes, they watch Hallmark. Mostly millennial women.
I'm not surprised because you live in New York City. Where do all the protagonists in these Hallmark Channel movies live? Or where are they from? That's right, bitch. They're from, I don't think they say New York City. It's almost like they're like afraid to use the branding. But yeah, they're all like lonely single shrews in New York City who just love their career. But will their career hold them in bed as they cry? No. So
yeah,
you may need to talk to some people after this.
But they're like thinking about this from like that, you know, the back end sort of formulaic. They one of the people I talked to said, quote, you know what you're getting into, it's solid and always delivers, that's really it, end quote. So yeah, high praise, you know? You know, as opposed to like other streamers like Netflix are really getting into the game. There's been a lot of Christmas movies from Netflix, Falling in Love, A Castle for Christmas, A Christmas Prince, The Royal Baby. Those seem to be like wild shots in the dark that usually, you know, people don't engage people. They're just there as a tile on your Netflix app and don't really cross like the 20% mark on Rotten Tomatoes. So the cultural juggernaut that Hallmark delivers, really everyone's sort of trying to get into that market and kind of failing.
You know what you're getting, and they're consistent, is also, I've said this about Boston Market, and really like a roast to ham and a Hallmark Channel movie are kind of the same thing, where it's like, you're not expecting creme de la creme, you know? I'm not expecting, you know, the chef de cuisine of some French restaurant making something for me special, but it's getting the job done. It's feeding me. It is satiating a need I have. And that's really what we want to see, is just blandly attractive people falling in love.
100%.
With like fake snow, or maybe even real snow.
Maybe real snow, you know?
They do shoot in Canada. They have real snow.
The budget is tight, you know? Also, I did want to say, during the dual strikes, with advanced planning and a lot of SAG waivers, they did get a lot of SAG permissions. They did not have any stoppage of work, and their holiday programming continued as usual, starting in October, and like even like prepping for the holiday programming, which is really honestly speaks to their leadership and like planning and strategically thinking about, you know, the industry.
They have writers?
Come on.
They have... Okay. And that's cool.
It's ChatGPT.
I don't think ChatGPT can accurately mimic the Hallmark writing. I don't think it's learned enough about humanity or existing Hallmark scripts to be able to like generate a new one. So we'll see.
You know, people gotta do what they gotta do. You gotta eat. You gotta put a roof over your head. We support you, writers. Outgoing CEO Wanya Lucas and the EVP of programming Lisa Hamilton Daly have really prioritized understanding their audiences, which is clear. I think this is also like, I'm sure they're doing a lot of focus groups and research and like gathering data into like the exact user behavior, right? Like greeting cards as well. Lisa hails from Netflix, which was really interesting to me. She was in charge of the recurring drama series. That's a division, drama series recurring. And she seems to have brought a lot of her learnings into honing into like monitoring data points that draw patterns around lasting impacts and impressions. So leaning into filtering everything through the North Star and the brand image. One of the things in the interview with Joseph Adalian in the Buffering newsletter, one of the things she repeatedly said was, we always ask, does it meet our brand image? Which is exactly like how product managers should be asking, does this feature addition or does this change or does this pivot meet our North Star?
Disney is going to steal this woman from under Hallmark's nose.
I was very impressed. And then she also mentioned repeatedly, which is part of the formula, she said one of her learnings has been people get attached to the names and faces more than the characters. Which is so funny because I think that's been a lesson that Kevin Feige kind of failed at. You know, like people were attached to Robert Downey, not Iron Man. So
yeah, he doesn't get that. He's from the comic book world, which is like, obviously, can you imagine getting attached to a face that's like trying to keep an artist alive for 80 years to keep drawing the same thing over and over again?
I was really, honestly, this woman talks, my product inner child was very impressed. This is a quote from, this is a quote that really stood out to me from Lisa. So, quote, I personally love the experience of the channel and just turning it on. It has the kind of holistic feeling that when I go there, even the ads appeal to me. I know that sounds crazy, but it just feels like it's all of a piece. It's a viewing experience that a lot of people still do enjoy. It's a place where audiences know that every Saturday night there's a new movie for them there, and they build their evenings around it. End quote.
No choice paralysis. You sit, you're getting what you expected. It's like dinner at grandma's. Sometimes she makes something new, but it's always gonna be a grandma dinner, you know? And you don't have to think about it. You just sit and consume. And there is something very relaxing about that. And I see the appeal.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. But obviously, they're a business. So that said, of course, they're involved in streaming. They have a streaming platform called Hallmark Movies Now, HMN. And it seems to be right now there's a deal. It's $4.99 a month with an annual plan if you sign up and get some like Valentine's Day movies going, you know, in like a few months. It's available on Apple TV, Fire TV, App Store, Google Play, so pretty standard. In the experience that I was browsing, it reminded me very much of the sort of like BritBox experience. For more information on BritBox, check out our British streaming invasion episode where we talk about BritBox and Acorn. Like a huge ass title as soon as you like land on the page, a huge ass like I need to stop saying huge ass. Like a very big
is that a technical term? Is that a product term specifically? Sorry, how would you like the banner sized? A huge ass.
It's correct.
What do you look for in a partner? Huge ass.
Just covers a lot of bases, you know? And a big title that's like the full screen takeover situation and very little text, which I noticed immediately. Very little text, a beautiful picture of usually a couple staring at each other lovingly. And as you scroll down the carousels, there's like 4 or 5 carousels with content tiles in each, and the carousels are titled very cutely, like movies and mistletoe, you know, like the Christmas holiday collection, and they seem to be curated because I saw like they were showing up on different devices that I looked at, and I just thought very basic, very effective, prioritizing the feeling from the image first and sort of like text is secondary.
Oh, wow. Should we have included this in our movie and criterion episode instead? Is this what's happening now?
I feel very... they have descriptions in text, but I almost wonder if they have learnings that people are not reading and just like clicking on like these beautiful images.
If there's one place that you can safely say it's all vibes only, I'm gonna say it's the Hallmark website.
Hallmark Movies Now, Raven.
Any Hallmark website, any website that has tangentially to do with Hallmark, it is, iconography based, very minimal text. Copywriting, we don't have that. That's for the inside of the greeting card, you know.
Last week we last episode we covered Facebook Watch, which was all about so much text in their like small real estate, and so this really stood out. It's like the complete opposite. Search is fine. You can their cast is very important to them, like the actors that lead these titles, so you can search with the titles of content and the cast, and stuff comes up. You can't search by years. You can't type 1999 and stuff like that. Nothing comes up. One interesting thing that happened in 2022, they also have a deal with Peacock now. So Peacock streaming app has a Hallmark hub, and content is also available on Hallmark, on the Hallmark hub 72 hours later, just like it is available on Hallmark Movies Now app. So again, nothing is streaming first, and nothing is available in real time at the same time as it's available on Hallmark Channel on your cable package. So fun stuff. Welcome to Cross-Dysfunctional. Today, we're seeing two. Double trouble. Twin cores. Dual holidays. Binary rejections of the norm.
I don't think we're rejecting norms here, baby. We are unhinging our jaw for the norm.
Yeah, the GAF channel is definitely not. So we're talking the exact lift and shift that the Great American Family channel and maybe some Trouble in Paradise they've already experienced since the inception. So let's get into it. So what is the Great American Family channel? So emerging as a competitor in only the last couple of years, I believe since 2021, the Great American Family channel, formerly, so it did exist before 2021, GAC Family, GAC Family, GAC-F, as I'll call it from this point forward, is a cable television channel known for producing holiday programming and made-for-TV movies. So pretty similar to Hallmark. Again, we'll see a lot of like just copying throughout, like whatever Hallmark did. They did not innovate, guys.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm very surprised that it's not just constant reruns of Birth of a Nation, because that title of Great American Family gives me what should I say, clan particles emissions are being detected.
You may not be far from the truth.
Let's keep going.
Here's the thing. So the channel was created by GAC Media, Great American Family Media, which acquired the Great American Country Network. There's a lot of just America and great in this overview, by the way. If that
hell yeah, baby, let's go.
I'm so sorry. So acquired in 2021, aiming to use the platform to create, quote, family-friendly content, end quote. So Great American Country was rebranded as GAC Family and soon began producing original Christmas programming such as My Angel's Christmas List, starring Chad Michael Murray and Jessica Lowndes. By the way, y'all, Raven was just joking about a Christmas movie with Chad Michael Murray, and here it is. And A Lot Like Christmas, also another movie, believe it or not, starring Maggie Lawson and Christopher Russell. So the network has produced season 2 of When Hope Calls, a spin-off of When Calls the Heart, which was previously on the Hallmark Channel. Again, themes of taking stuff
a lot of
right
like
off
sloppy
of
seconds vibes I'm getting here.
Yeah.
You know?
I can respect iterating on a concept and then like using that as a platform to like go somewhere, but they're just like...
Okay, so you're not dating your friend's ex, you're dating your friend's ex's brother. Got it. It's definitely less creepy now. Sure. All above board. Yeah.
It's all good. So yeah, this seems to be a theme. They've stolen or copied a lot of the stuff from Hallmark and not necessarily perfected the model. So we've seen a lot of actors that are beloved over at Hallmark leave and get deals, multiple picture deals at the Great American Family Channel. So Candace Cameron Bure, Danica McKellar, Trevor Donovan, and Lori Loughlin. Who's
that? Who's Lori Loughlin?
Never. Fresh off of her prison.
Who that bitch?
Lori Loughlin. According to Bill Abbott, CEO, quote, as the company expands across different media verticals, renaming our linear networks Great American Family and Great American Living better reflects our vision to each brand and firmly aligns the company under the Great American Media umbrella. So there's also Great American Living. According to National Media Spots, so I was reading more about the channel, Hallmark is number 12 overall in channel rankings, in terms of like audience size throughout the year, sort of like annual rankings, and a lot more like factors that go in, household reach, etc. Great American Family is number 64. Averaging about 134,000 audience size. Yo, this bad. This not good.
I mean, what do you expect from something that isn't trying to actually fill a gap in the market? I mean, let's be frank. The output that Hallmark puts out there, I can call them so many things. Lazy is not what I would call them. They're churning that out with workmanlike efficiency, and to come in and say, we can give you the same thing for the exact same price. Does that appeal to anybody? What is the curb appeal of saying, hey, we're giving you the exact same thing as our competitor is for the same price? By the way, you're not getting anything extra, and you're getting some things extra with the Great American Family Channel. But the curb appeal isn't really there. There's just like, people go to Hallmark and they're like, oh my god, I can't see Lori Loughlin anymore, but there is an equally attractive white woman in her 40s also trying to find love after her first marriage. Probably, I would say, ended because of death, because I think divorce is still unseemly. So you can still find the other person, and instead of being an aunt in a sitcom from the 80s, it's now an aunt from the sitcom in the 90s. Like, time moves forward. The wheel of time rolls forward. Time's arrow marches on. Lori Loughlin is now reminding people that you can just Photoshop your kids onto student athletes' bodies for admissions on another channel, but it's not really offering anything different or anything new.
The company believes in second chances, apparently, for Lori, and she's out there giving interviews for her Christmas, season movies and thriving.
I would love to see like a felon's love story in prison. That
Hallmark.
I would watch.
Hallmark will do.
No, I want to see it on the Great American Family Channel, because I feel like its audiences would really be tantalized by the idea of a white woman in prison finding like wholesome Christian love during the season of Christmas. So
the key really is having a tragedy that's not too tragic that you can correct. You know what I mean? To your point about divorce and death earlier.
Oh yeah, it'll be self-defense, It'll be a Second Amendment related imprisonment for sure.
Yeah. I honestly, like, does nothing like that exist? I'd watch it. I do want to leave the overview of what the Great American Family Channel is on this note. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, published on November 14th, 2022, so about a year, last year, about a year ago, Candace Cameron Bure, who's a star of a lot of movies at the Great American Family Channel, and also serves as the chief creative officer for the channel, said, quote, "I think that the Great American Family Channel will keep traditional marriage at the core." End quote. So, there you have it, folks.
Back off, homos. Sorry, that's what she's trying to say, right?
She left Hallmark, and that's the reason she gave for leaving Hallmark.
Hallmark got a little too gay, a little too not white. I'm not sure if she was more mad at African American people or Hispanic and Latino communities. I'm not sure which one got her ire more in terms of diversity, but in terms of the LGBTQ community's perspective, yeah, it was getting a little too gay. I think they had a total of like maybe 3 or 4 whole movies dedicated to gay people falling in love at Christmas, as opposed to
3 or 4 too many, you know?
According to Candace. So yeah, clearly. But she's got some ideas about how to compete with Hallmark, so we'll get into that. So the first area where the Great American Family Channel, God, we have to come up with something smaller than that. This is just, it's so exhausting to keep saying it. It's such a weird title.
Gaffs.
Gaffy. So they are very much, I would say, cognizant of the era of streaming being upon them. In direct contrast with that title, they are aware that, you know, cable is not doing super well with younger viewers. They understand that cable has a absolute hold on the 60 plus audience, and they're not going anywhere, but they're trying to get people who are younger, obviously, because they have more time to spend their money, I guess. So I think, again, the main difference that I got to see was that they were actually doing partnerships with a lot more streaming services. So they did a partnership with Hulu with live TV, Sling TV, and Philo. These are some of the partnerships. They're not an extensive full list of it. And
really? Okay, they're kind of advanced. Yeah. Interesting.
Much more advanced. And the subject matter experts that they have gotten from Hallmark, Bill Abbott, who was the former CEO of Crown Media Holdings, which eventually became Hallmark Media. He had overseen the Hallmark Channel, and he is now the CEO of not just Great American Media, but also of PureFlix. It's like Netflix, but pure. Do you have unclean thoughts? Do you not think about God enough? Watch PureFlix. And he is the CEO of the streaming service PureFlix, as well as Great American Media. So he also must have overseen the initiative to bring a lot of the on-screen talent associated with the Hallmark brand, because I assume that's why the list of stars that you listed earlier, Candace Cameron Bure, Danica McKellar, my favorite felon, Lori Loughlin, Chad Michael Murray, all of these people had previously done their rotation in the Hallmark Channel. It's like a residency for being a doctor, and now they're like opening their own practice in Gaffy, and
it's basically the same thing. Same respect, you know.
Basically the same thing. They also replaced the Hallmark Channel as the broadcaster of the Tournament of the Roses parade. The parade that is right before the Rose Bowl football game is someone from California. I know that the Rose Bowl is a pretty big deal. I know that we both are from an SEC school, so that's the conference that particularly concerns us, so we don't give a shit. But the Rose Bowl, sports. The Rose Bowl is a pretty big deal out in the West Coast, so it's kind of a get for that type of programming. And I think it speaks very much to their strategy of just picking up stuff that Hallmark leaves behind, because it's not perhaps like giving them dividends that they're looking for in terms of investment, because the money that they're paying to have exclusive rights isn't, giving them the same results in terms of advertising and stuff, so they let it go. Or maybe Great American Channel just paid more for it because they really valued this as something they wanted. Who knows? But let's talk about the actual content that we want to get to, right? The holiday programming, the Christmas movies. Because this is definitely a channel that will very much force you to say specifically Christmas. Probably because Hallmark is doing something incredibly daring and brave and putting out Hanukkah movies. And we all know that doesn't fly with the Great American Family Channel.
So this is in contrast with what you mentioned. They try to keep it as secular and like non-referring to, terms like Christmas on Hallmark, but they're completely the opposite here.
I mean, you said the beginning of your section had a title with the word angel in it, and as far as I can say from my experience, of course, that to me is clearly leaning into the non-secular side of things. They're leaning into, I don't know if they'll be offended if I call it mythology, so let's just say the traditional imagery that is associated with the story of the birth of baby Jesus Christ. And I think again,
Vampire Angelus? That's what I think of when I think of angels. Great TV show that I just started.
I think you cause physical pain to Joss Whedon if you said that his work reminded you of Christian stuff, because he'd be a tad insulted by that. But if that's your goal, that's great. I'm sure you would also insult Candace Cameron Bure, Chief Content Officer, sister of Kirk Cameron. If you're not picking up what I'm putting down, she is a former child star. And instead of having a fruitful, prosperous career like Leonardo DiCaprio or Christian Bale or Christina Ricci or Kirsten Dunst, she said, nah, fuck it. I'm going to fleece millions of people out of their money in the name of religion, because I want to specifically cater to the insecurity that people do not find inclusion of their motives of evangelizing and proselytizing. So it's not enough that Christian people need to exist in media. The goal is to convert people to Christianity through media. Good luck. God bless. I guess in that term, I would say that the comment about traditional marriage, again, very much seems to speak to people who are upset with diversity of any kind being represented in the portrayal of romantic couples, or even in roles that don't particularly gather a lot of like screen time. Because even background roles or your sassy gay best friend role or whatever, it's going to diverse cast members now. And there seems to be a
she's
break
not about
between...
that.
She's not about that, but the CEO, who formerly worked at Hallmark, is like trying to come out and do damage control and saying that she doesn't actually represent the network and that's just her way of talking. And I feel that there's no way that sentiment could be genuine, because it's no surprise she has been at the front line of evangelizing Christianity through entertainment for like the last 20 years now.
She is
very
married to
least.
someone named Valerie, who is a man. So
Awesome. So I'm sure that there'd be a lot of like great discussions around gender identity in that household. But she's also the sister of Kirk Cameron, who has made one of the most spectacularly bad movies of all time, Kirk Cameron Saving Christmas. It's just an offense to cinema. I think if Martin Scorsese watched that, he would be a lot more gentle on Marvel movies. But anyway, I think that their strategy is again to like literally recreate what the Hallmark Channel was in its inception at its peak popularity, and pin the popularity on the type of content and not the changing landscape of how media is consumed and the demographics within which it's consumed as well. Like there's a lot of people who are COVID took a lot of the people who would watch Hallmark Channel, God rest their souls. But also, millennials are not the target audiences anymore. We are also aging out of that lucrative 25 to 49 age of advertisers.
The Nielsen data reporting that first, you know?
We, like, I know there's some of us that are clinging on to that demographic by the hinges of our nails. We need to let go of that. Like that is now becoming like the Gen Z target audience there.
Yeah.
And we're not the audience anymore. We have also been seeing that more millennials are, yes, of course, cutting cords, but again, I think it would be really interesting if you went back to the people that you had those anecdotal conversations with and asked them where they consumed these movies from. Was it their own home or their parents' home? And what happens when, God forbid, the wheel of time continues moving forward and they become the parents at whose home the gathering is set? What will their kids and grandkids watch? Probably Blue Eye Samurai, instead of
hell yes,
instead of Hallmark movies.
That's the kind of unconventional Christmas content we're talking about. Blue Eye Samurai, snowing in Japan when it starts. It's great.
Sure. But but the idea of like going to grandma's house and watching something with grandma, now it can be, again, it can be a lot of Disney movies. It can be just watching like old episodes of Sailor Moon. There's no restrictions around that. So I don't see where it makes sense to go back from a artistic or creative perspective. I don't see where it's good to go back from a monetary perspective, but from an ideology, I can absolutely see why the network that also runs equestrian events for horse girlies also wants to show literally an all-white Christmas, but let's not make the Yuletide gay, we don't want none of that. We want the Yuletide pretty straight in a traditional conventional marriage. How about that? All right, so let's try to coalesce the last hour of venting about issues that we have with the insertion of personal ideology that isn't about inclusivity into content. Let's talk about what we actually kicked off at the beginning of this episode, which was around holiday-specific content. Content that comes around this time of the year, around December, primarily focused on Christmas. Why does it do so well? Well, there's a couple of obvious reasons that I want to get out of the way. First of all, this is a time where there isn't any new content that is coming out regularly on television. Yeah. So you can go and check out things in cinemas, but in terms of what I would call like crowd pleasing or family friendly or audience inclusive of like different ages and backgrounds and stuff, there's not much out there. Maybe you'll have a couple of animated movies. Maybe you will have one or two like G-rated family comedies or something like that, but the approach of the movie industry right now is just slam awards contenders wall to wall on every possible cinema that is available. That is the strategy, and unless you were one of those people that went to see Lincoln together all those years ago as a family for Christmas or Thanksgiving, good for you. What a good thing to do.
Did it come out over Christmas?
It did come out during the winter. Yeah, it did. Pretty
DDL.
good.
Okay.
Pretty good. I would say that the idea of being able to stay home, entertain a whole bunch of people is a much cheaper option. So people are going to pick staying at home rather than going to the movies, because the number of people in their family unit increases during the holidays because everyone is coming together and, you know, going to spend time together doing common activities. And this is going to be one of them. So this becomes one of those things that people aren't necessarily doing what we called lean in viewing. It is lean back viewing.
Lean back.
Yeah.
Us Zaslav heads know what that's about.
We love David Zaslav. Hallmark is gonna do one of me running into David Zaslav at the Home Depot. I also feel like the other thing that we didn't get into in terms of streaming is that other streaming networks do make holiday movies. It's true, but they do not crank it out in terms of the volume of content, because Netflix and Hulu and Max, they have other things to make. Like Disney Plus is giving big bucks to Tony Gilroy now that Andor is getting awards recognition, right? So they don't have time to make Jingle All the Way Part 4. Arnold's back this time. So we aren't going to see the same level of proliferation from all these other streaming services that we do from, let's call like Hallmark and Great American Family Channel, like niche services, you know, in the way that we saw like BritBox, in the way that we saw Acorn TV, in the way that we looked at even how Mubi and Criterion Collection have like a very niche specific identity. This is the thing that we as product managers always look for, and we have kind of seen them solve for it. They have a clear identity established, so they're not worried about losing that, and I think that's what keeps viewers coming back to it.
Made me also think of Raven. Made me also think of Screambox and Shudder, like solid content. You know exactly what you're getting, and
very good description and very good comparison as well. Yeah, it's catered to a specific genre. I think loosely we can say that it's not a rule that they're all romantic comedies. I believe that there is some room for drama in there, but they primarily fall under romantic comedies.
Feel-good escapism, you know,
yes,
that kind of
feel-good escapism always has a happy ending. There's no unresolved tension there. You're not going to find a movie like The Lighthouse being made, but a Christmas version of it.
What a film. Cinema. Peak cinema.
And again, I think that from a content perspective, I really feel like the idea during the holiday season is consumerism. And vicarious consumerism is obviously a lot cheaper because it's someone else spending the money. So you get to see, for example, people having lavish holiday parties with extravagant set dressing and decoration to make it look like the holiday party of your dreams. There's probably a part of you that wants to be the person that hosts these like feasts, you know, like throw a magnificent feast for everyone to attend far as the eye can see, and they come in and they're just awashed in the splendor of their surroundings, and there's a part of you that loves hosting that wants to do all of that, and you get to live that experience of
it's a big thing in Nancy Meyer's rom-coms.
Exactly.
Kitchens, people have written so much and talked so much about like which is the best
of
kitchen
the kitchens
and, like,
in Nancy Meyer's. Exactly. And there's also this part that people love where they go to a small place that everyone knows who they are, everyone knows their life story, so they feel important and taken care of, and they're paid attention to. They don't have to drive anywhere. It seems like everything is walkable, and there's so much activity and fun and festivity going on in these towns that never seem to have any budget issues. Never seems to be like losing money for community events because of over policing happening. It's like removed from reality. It is a beautiful, like almost like a snow globe, you know, it's a self-contained world where it's always frozen in time and you can go back and feel comforted. And I don't want to take that away from anybody. If this is your thing,
Yeah.
It seems
You're not hurting anyone.
Yeah, from the Hallmark side, I definitely would say that it seems harmless. Although, guys, please don't buy themed like paper cups and plates for like your events and stuff. Just buy regular ones and make sure that they're compostable, because let's not contribute to like
let's reduce
environmental
the garbage
problems.
that's
Exactly.
ending up in Atacama Desert. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Don't buy more food than you need to for your holiday feast just because you want the illusion of having 6 pies instead of 2 when there's only like 4 people coming. So calm down.
For the gram, for the TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. Just take a screenshot from the Hallmark and put it on your gram and say this is yours. Like who's going to cop to recognizing it and saying I've watched that Hallmark movie, you're a liar. So don't worry. Yeah.
Although that's something they can really lean into, like something that it's like a thing of pride to tag yourself watching Hallmark or like talk about Hallmark and like fearlessly sort of make that a name that comes up over and over again as opposed to like a
like with everything, if you're consuming it from the adult mindset of this is fiction and this doesn't need to apply directly to my life, you're not taking away any life lessons from it, then go for it. It's a bubble bath, you know? Like it's the mental equivalent of that.
Bubble bath. Whiskey-soaked bubble bath. Or wine-soaked, let's keep it a little bit light.
No, whiskey's good too. Like I said, no judgment. You want to consume this. Like this is where I think it's that comfort of predictability and of like seeing people being able to do things without being, unburdened by the constraints of reality. It's like escapist, consumerist porn. It's just excessive.
It's working. And people have sentiments, and why does this type of content work? They've locked down the formula, as we talked about before, and there's so many analysis like Google this, like what a Hallmark movie is like, or the Hallmark movie playbook. And it's all about like there is a life change or a challenge that usually a woman goes through, and then there's a romantic interest with some sort of history of conflict with our main character. Resolving conflict resolves the life change or life challenge that our main character is going through, and then the tried and true sort of seal it with a kiss. Guys, it's warm and cozy, like that's what you need during the winter, and it works, as especially Hallmark has found. And again, I also think to Lisa Hamilton Daly's point on sort of the experience of watching, of actually consuming this, it's feel good, it's low stress, and it's lean back content, Zaslav
also you can literally leave the room, go to the bathroom, take care of some things around your house, and come back and not have missed any major plot points. Or even if you have, you know where it's going because it's following that formula. So.
Exactly. And that's really important because you're not... I feel like with prestige TV, which we're big fans of on this podcast, you cannot miss any look or stare or like one word, because it all kind of sort of ties the story together. And there's room for that, but there's also room for, getting up and like, getting a second place, a plate of that pasta, and then not missing a beat, not pausing. I also think...
Or teaching your grandma how to fix her router, or like being the tech support for so many other things, or taking the trash out, just like holiday
gentle
stuff.
Melodies.
Yeah.
Gentle melodies in the back. I also think like the strategy of capitalizing on general event-based spirit, whether it's like Christmas or Valentine's Day or like what the start of summer vibes, has been really good for this sort of content. They just center everything around an event and just like have the countdown leading up to the event and like coming out of the event, and people just it's been working for them, and they just
it feels special because it's ritualized. They create a ritual, and it makes it feel like a new tradition, and it's easy to adopt because these are all clearly delineated steps that anyone can do or perform at home. So you're absolutely right in that having that formula makes, again, people feel like it's recreatable, and that's also gives you a sense of security. It's like, oh, I know what to do to get into the mood. I need to just follow these steps and everything will be okay.
It's kind of like an equation that you can solve instead of like an abstract thing that may confuse or irritate you when you're already like, in the going through your life, which is, which can be hard.
Which is completely ignored in the content of this. Like, no one is going through financial troubles unless you are a small business owner specifically dealing in holiday-based goods and services.
It's got to be a little whimsical, adorable in a way, like this challenge that they established for our main character. But why does this type of content succeed for some platforms and not others, as we've spent the episode talking about? The major thing is the actors. They've built these tent poles around the actors that people follow, from story to story, from anthology to anthology, from movie to movie. So actors like Andrew Walker and Lacey Chabert, who's become this
Gretchen Wieners is now on Hallmark. Her father, who invented toaster strudel, is not going to be happy when he hears about this. But
Julia Stiles is also a Hallmark mainstay. Ryan Peavy. It's also like, I was thinking about how
Julia Stiles, come on.
Showed up on SNL, and
she was great. Yeah. I think, again, there's something like weirdly old Hollywood about it. Not in terms of class or glamour, but the idea that you go see a Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movie, they're going to be paired up, they're going to do a little shimmy and a shake and a 1, 2, 3, and they're going to get together by the end of it. There's something that also reminds me of the type of screwball comedy formula that was also prevalent in the 30s as well. That was very much catered to the idea of I don't know how else to put it, but like distracting people from an increasingly depressing reality. And if we're talking about economic settings, I would say that it's kind of starting to look like the 20s and 30s again in that perspective. So I can see them hitting the pedal to the metal and trying to put out even more feel good, even more fluffy things to distract you from, like, I don't know.
Dust Bowl era 2.0.
That homelessness is at an all-time high in America. Don't think about that. Think about this perfect town in New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts.
Correct.
Where it's always Christmas and it's beautiful and there's tree trimming everywhere and there's a festival of lights and everyone just has a permanent cup of like hot chocolate or cocoa.
That sounds so nice, Raven. I'd like to go.
And there's always like
a
playful, impish child trying to get you and your love interest together. And it turns out that the love interest is super handsome once he shaves or something like that, I want to say.
Yeah.
Or he cleans up.
I will say, kids work so well in this genre, and they work so well in the horror genre. So, Shudder, share something with the Hallmark Channel. Just effective.
Like Krampus too. It's a love story, but Krampus falls in love. Like
I'd watch it.
Yeah, he's stalking some kids, and then he falls in love with the mom, and he's like, "Kids, meet your new dad. It's Krampus."
Everyone needs love and warmth and hot chocolate. You know what I mean? Even Krampus. Shall we end here? It's dinner hour in New York.
Oh, let's keep the holiday merriment going with the next episode, though. Kira.
Yes, super excited to. So next time we're going to be talking about. It's a Metrics Minutes episode, y'all. We're talking about holiday box office trends. So excited about this one.
Yeah.
We're fully leaning into this like award season and the holidays and just combining what Silicon Valley and Hollywood are cooking up for us.
Oh, yeah. We're doing Christmas. We're doing awards. We're doing seasonal depression due to lack of vitamin D. We're doing all of it, baby.
Until next time, full screeners. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Get some sun.